Hi everybody, it's Joni Young here. Welcome back to my channel for another painting tutorial. So this is another painting tutorial on how to paint hair. This time I'm going to be showing you different types of hair than in the first video. So if you haven't seen that one yet, I'll leave a link below and you can check out how to paint hair and animal fur in that first video. But this is a part 2 on how to paint different types of hair. So I'm going to be using the following colors and brushes. I've got yellow ochre, Mars black, burnt sienna, and titanium white. I have a number 10 angle brush, 3 round, and 14 filbert. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and get started. So the first type of hair I'm going to show you how to paint is blonde, and I'm going to show you how to do a warm blonde and a cool blonde. So one that's like platinum, almost white, and one that's tinted with a little bit of yellow ochre for more of a warm blonde. So let's start with the warm blonde. First of all, I'm just going to take a little bit of water and I'm going to take a little bit of black, burnt sienna. We need to start with a dark base. So I'm going to take a little bit of black and burnt sienna and I'm just going to pull and flick. And this would be the same for animal fur as well. I'm going to take a little bit of water. And I'm going to take some yellow ochre without rinsing my brush out. And I'm going to start to go over top. It's important to start with a darker base. That way you create the depth, shadows, and layering. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit more of the yellow ochre this time. I'm going to pull it out a little bit longer, freer with my brush strokes, curving, and then turning the brush. I really like to use an angle brush for painting hair because you can create so much movement. But you could also use a fan brush. Okay, now I'm going to take some white. I've still got a hint of that yellow ochre in there, as you can see. So I'm just tinting my white a little bit with a yellow ochre, and we're not going to apply too much pressure. So we just want to have a little ridge of paint there on the edge of the brush or end of the brush. And I'm going to start very lightly applying the full width of the brush. And creating the same brush strokes. Now for a little bit more blonde, you can alternate how much yellow ochre and how much white you use. This way you'll get different lighting effects, some more shine in some areas, or perhaps some more highlights. You can add a little bit of water to your brush as well, just to thin and loosen that paint up a little bit. That'll help you have a little bit more control. So just increase the tightness for curly hair. So for curly hair, you would just wiggle a lot more like that, and then you instantly, when you have the white and the yellow ochre without completely mixing it up to make one color, you'll get those variations of light and dark areas, giving you shadows and highlights. I'm going to take a little bit more white. And I'm going to add some brighter highlights. Remember, wherever the hair goes in, whenever there's a dip in hair or fabric or ruffles or ribbon, that's where it's going to be darker. The light can't hit it when it's going in like that, right? It's the ones that are going out that are going to be getting the light. Okay, I'm just going to take a little bit more of my white and yellow. So extra white around here where the hair is popping out. So you can create layers like this too with going over top with more white. And then we have a little bit more shadow area right in there. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to paint platinum blonde hair. And I'm going to take a little bit of black. And I'm going to start with just with the black here, and I'm going to come and do the same. Add just a little bit of water. We'll have black to start. You can thin it out like I have here with a little bit of water. That'll give you some more gray tones, shadows. Okay, and then I'm going to take white without washing my brush off and just, again, applying it on the end of the brush. So just by working up those highlights, we can get a really nice soft platinum. Now you can warm it up a little bit if you don't want it to look like gray white hair. You can just tint your white with the tiniest bit of yellow ochre. And if you wanted to add a little bit of cool tones to your platinum hair, then you can add just a little bit of, this wasn't planned, I'm just going to show you a little quick example. Now whatever color hair you want, you would start with this base and then add pastel. Either if you want to have pink hair or turquoise hair, that's what you would use. You would tint your white with any color you want to make a pastel shade. So here we've got a little bit of cobalt blue. So these are all Holbein colors that I'm using today. And I'm just going to add a little bit of purple. And we're just going to add a little hint of that, which is so, so pretty. I used to work in a salon. I just worked the front desk, but I used to get really jealous of all the girls that could pull off the bleach blonde or pastel color hair. I could never pull that off with my type of hair and my coloring, but I just think it's so pretty. So I'll just play on this color a little bit more. Just add a little bit more blue or purple. But you see how easy it is to change the color. So once you get the proper layering and base coat color, you can create any color hair that you want. So if you want to have it more saturated, then start adding more of the color and less white. So I'm just going to come in and add some brighter highlights of white now. And remember, we're applying the paint on the end of the brush, and the highlights will be where the hair pops out. And if you wanted curly hair, you would do the same thing. Let me just tint my white with a little bit of purple and blue. Now, I think in the last video, or my first part 1 of how to paint hair and fur, I was demonstrating with a fan brush. So that's a really, really great brush to use for painting hair and fur. But you know, I like to show you as much as I can in my tutorials. So because I already showed you guys and demonstrated with a fan brush in the first video, I'm showing you how to use an angle brush. A lot of people don't know what angle brushes are for, so I personally really find them effective and important in painting with, and I enjoy using them. So I always want to show you guys different uses for them. I'm going to add a little bit more highlights to the blonde over here before we start working on the other examples of hair. But see how you can start coming in and making chunky highlights? Creating light and those shadows. Okay, so the next type of hair I want to show you how to paint is dark hair with caramel highlights. So I'm going to start the base with burnt sienna and black, and I'm going to add some curly wavy hair here. So just adding the paint on the end of the brush without mixing it will already give you some beautiful natural caramel looking streaks. Now we're gonna brighten those up and make it even, I guess this is more of a chocolate highlight or streaky color, but we're going to make caramel in here in just a minute. But it's really important to have the dark base. You need dark to have all the highlights, but the brush stroke is just wiggling. So the tighter you want your curl, the quicker you're going to wiggle. So we'll do a looser, kind of just beachy wave example here. And then I'm going to take the black and I'm going to do tighter wiggles. Now I have really tight curly hair, and a lot of people have been asking if I could do more examples of hair really tight like this. So you just wiggle across and drag down at the same time. Just remember, the tighter the curl, the quicker the wiggle, more wiggles, tighter together. The longer the curls or looser the curls, you're going to just relax your wiggle. And then we're going to add some highlights. In just a moment, I just want to add a little bit more black so that we really can add those highlights and they'll really stand out. I'm going to add a little bit more black. And then of course, to make wispy ends to the hair, you just kind of pull, flick either straight down flip to the side or straight down. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse my brush out and I'm going to go into my yellow ochre. That's going to give me the caramel highlights and a little bit of burnt sienna and a little bit of white. So white, yellow ochre, burnt sienna. I didn't mix it on the palette to make one color. I have all three a little bit on the end of my brush. And I'm going to just lightly wiggle and pick up a little bit more of the burnt sienna. A little bit of white. See, so once you learn the formula, but it's always a good idea, you can never go wrong with starting with a dark base. That's going to give you the 3D look to the hair. That's all about creating those layers. Okay, so now I'm going to add a few more little highlights here. Take a little bit more white with the three colors, or with the burnt sienna, yellow ochre, and just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Or if you wanted to have caramel highlights in straight hair, you would do the same thing like I demonstrated here and here, just less of the wiggles. Okay, so let's come over here now with the really curly hair, and I'm going to take a little bit of white. And you know, sometimes like really black, jet black hair can have almost a bluish tinge to it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of black, purple, blue, and white. And then just really, really, really tight. Tight, tight wiggles. And you could also turn the brush the other way. We'll just add a little bit of white here. And with the pointy end of the brush, you could add little highlights like that. There's so many different ways of creating curls. And I'm going to take a little bit of white with the black to make a few other examples here. And then just with more of the end of the brush, little squiggles. Curly hair is not perfect, that's for sure. You get all those little, you can get all the frizzy parts and little areas that just kind of want to go their own way, and don't I know it. And then I'm going to take just straight black, and I'm going to come in with some more layers. The trick is to not have too much paint on your brush, so I kind of just tap and dab it in to load the end of the brush. And sometimes it's really helpful when your brush starts to separate. That way you can get even more of a layered look. So another type of hair, really tight, short, dark hair with some maybe brown highlights, I'm going to be showing you with the 14 Filbert brush. So I'm going to take black, and I'm just going to add a little area down here, and I'm going to kind of squiggle around, wiggle, twisting and rolling my brush. Just to make it look a little curly already before we come in with our highlights that'll make individual curls stand out. I'm going to paint the curls with the number 3 round brush, and I'm going to take some white and some burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of black. And I'm going to add little loops really close together. Now I'm starting on the outside of the hair, the ends of the hair. Those are the parts of the hair that I want to have with the highlights. And then closer to the scalp will be dark. And if you want to have lighter highlights, then just add more white. Tight, 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 circles that are really close together. And I'm just continuing with these circles without letting off on the brush. Or taking the brush off the canvas. But again, starting with a really dark base is key. Remember, whatever color the hair you want it to be, pink, turquoise, if you want to add those colors, then you just tint your white. Until you make the desired shade that you want. Now I have so many types of hair that I could show you how to do. And if you guys want to learn more color recipes and hairstyles, then just leave a comment below letting me know what type of hair you'd like to see. And I'm just going to take a little bit of white and mix that up with these colors, just making a lighter shade. Okay, so if you wanted to make more of a mocha color hair, or if you just wanted it to be straight black, then you would just add light gray highlights and that will make it look shiny. And then coming in again with a little bit of black here and there. Once you're done with your bright colors, can really give you extra depth and layers. Now if you want to see how to paint hair with figures and faces, I've got a portraits and figures playlist, so you can learn how to paint people with the hair. You can just build up the layers as much as you want. And if you ever add too much and you've lost your highlights, the acrylic is so forgiving that, you know, right away you can just go over and add them again. I'm gonna add a little bit of orange. This is Luminous Orange by Holbein that I'm using. So I'm going to go back over to my Filbert brush and I'm going to take burnt sienna, a little bit of black, and we'll start with our dark base. And I'm just going to create a little area here and just adding short little flicks. Now you can apply the side of the brush and the tip of the brush to create layers and chunks. Okay, then I'm going to take the orange and I'm just going to start layering over. And this is going to get a lot darker as it blends in with the other colors that are down. And this will give you a really nice base. And I'm going to be using the angle brush next. I'm going to take a little bit of white with the orange, a little bit of yellow ochre. That can tone it a little bit too, so it's not, so it really does depend on what orange you're working with. But you can, if you have a really bright neon one like this, this one's a cool one. Cool temperature. So I'm just adding a little bit of burnt sienna and yellow ochre to it, and we'll just add some highlights. Again, I don't want to overmix the colors because on my brush I don't want to make just one shade. But see, you can, there's so many different color recipes that I've got for all these types of hair examples today. But I just wanted to fit this extra little bonus one down here because I've got room for it. But yeah, that's what I recommend is burnt sienna. And then go lighter or darker than that, cooler or warmer with oranges. And then, you know, you can add a little bit more yellow ochre to it. So if you guys have any requests for what you'd like to see next, what I haven't covered yet, and you'd really like to learn more about painting hair or animal fur, just leave a comment below this video and I will do my best to create a tutorial for you all. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you learned a lot today. Take care and I'll see you all soon in my next video. Bye!